All right. Thank you so much, Nicola. I'm just going to stop sharing just so that to actually see everybody who's here with us on Zoom, and I also know we've got people on YouTube listening in. It's a real pleasure to see all of you. This is a real global gathering, and it's wonderful to see so many faces from different countries around the world. That was exactly the intention of this. It's called the GPS dialogue series, and we absolutely need the voices from different contexts around the world. So, this particular dialogue series is a series of three, and you are the trailblazers who have joined us at the very start. So, we very much hope that this will be the first of three dialogues together. And the intention, let me now go back to sharing on screen. The intention of the whole dialogue is that we're going to take a pause and in everything that's going on around us. I think it's a really timely pause, so that we can really reflect on what is happening in the coaching profession. And when I say coaching, I mean coaching, mentoring, supervision, and all of the sponsorship of coaching, because we have in the call today and in this series multiple perspectives, and I'll say a bit more about that. So the purpose is to come together in community and to hear each other and actually try to make sense of what's happening. And at the end of these three dialogues, so the three dialogues are where are we now, what are our needs, and what are our aspirations. And what we'll be doing with this dialogue series is that we're going to be sharing this back in the EMCC GPS Summit later this year, date to be agreed. It will be either October or November, date to be worked out. And we really want this to be a co creation of that dialogue. What we've learned in terms of what's been going on since mid March is that no single expert has the answers. So, dialogue is essential to bring the voices forward. So the goal here is to see what emerges and to create shared understanding. So that's what the context is. So I'm thrilled that we have, people from different countries. These are the countries represented from all of the people that signed up to be part of this. We definitely, those of you who listen back on the recording, we need, even more representation from other parts of the world. We try to have different times in the day to invite different voices. So we've got people who are EMCC organization members, global representatives of the EMCC Global Council, coaches, supervisors, team coaches, and I'm sure there are other functions represented here as well. So everyone is welcome. So in terms of what we've been living through, what I noticed early on is that it felt like it was a storm. There was this thing that came up, COVID-19. It was a big storm, and that it might then soon pass. And there was talk about when it finishes, we'll go back to normal. And then it was like it became a bad season. Then it was kind of like, well, people started to talk about the new normal, and I was never really that comfortable with that, as a way of thinking about what was going on. And now, probably in the last, 3 to 4 weeks, I've heard a lot of people talk about, this really is a profound shift. And frankly, if it is a profound shift, then we as a body within the coaching, mentoring, supervision profession, we need to come together to talk. So I want to now move into our first question. So the first question is all about where are we now? And this is, I'm going to use the word profession to cover all of the roles, whether we're an organizational member or we're an individual coach or a team coach. I really want to invite you to think about this is the first question. So, what are we learning in this situation? So, if we could invite you to go to the chat, everyone, what are we learning in this situation? So just write some keywords, things that you're learning as a professional, and I'll wait for a few people to, just hit the enter button and put some things in there on what are we learning, so that we can refer to that and we can use that. And Nicola will be typing in things that are also coming through YouTube. If anyone's typing into YouTube, Nicola is going to bring it straight into the chat here as well. So we're learning adaptability, flexibility, authenticity, resourcefulness, self-awareness, reflective leadership. Some coaches want coaching more often. We're valuing not knowing, significant paradigm shift, value compassion. We're not prepared for anything. We're learning. We're not prepared for anything. I'm learning to be flexible, comfortable with doubt. How important maintaining well-being is. Meaning and purpose are important. Accepting what we cannot change. Wow, we're becoming adaptable. Self as a resource. Adaptability, refocus of the circle of influence and control. Embracing change in the way that we coach. Values have become more important. Sharing power and control. Dream, open to new ways of doing things. Flexibility, open heart. Wow, these are great. Redefining the essentials. Fear. So Richard just added in the chat, so that leads us a great segue. Fear for the future, wisdom, getting to know yourself better. Together we could succeed rather than alone. No one is an island, paying deeper attention. So, right, wonderful. So I want you to start adding fears to that list. So what are the fears that we now need to manage? So Richard, thank you for starting us off with the fear that you mentioned there. Fear for the future, fear I've got it wrong, the imprevisibility of life. What are the fears that we're needing to manage? So budget cuts and L&D, recession, fear of failing in public. Lots of opportunities to be, although we're in our homes, we're still in public. Uncertainty, the situation is going to continue indefinitely. Recession, failure, too little time, too much to do, high expectations, overwhelming demands of our reports, fear of clients not seeing the value. Yeah, so everybody's so busy, fear of being stuck, fear of lack of clients, maintaining my resilience, fear of missed changes for larger change and growth, burnout, fear that we're missing the bigger picture and the opportunity, increase in the loss of well-being, wanting to create the past.
There's something here about the fear of getting it wrong as well, because you are all supporting people to develop in themselves and develop in their careers and in their home lives and in their business lives, and you're all you're a resilient rock for people, I would argue, and to have all the changes that are happening for everybody to affect you as well. Does everybody get a sense that, I don't know, do you get a sense that people are thinking they need coaches and mentors and supervisors now more than ever to help them make sense of this new world and help make sense of where we all are in this new world? But actually that's a great responsibility on the coaches, mentors and supervisors as well.
Just before we hear from everybody on that, I want to just share with you the final question in our now, just so that we have all of the perspectives out, because we want to make sure that we get all of your comments in. So I want to come to our role. So this links with what you've just said, Nicola, in terms of what we're seeing. So what are we seeing as our role in the face of those fears and with what we're learning? What is our role as professionals in this time of flux? And if we could invite you to put something in chat, and then we will we'll pick up on Nicola's segue, and then we will open it up for different people to contribute on this. So what is our role in this time of flux? Has our role changed, or has it just become more important? Yeah, that's so interesting. It'd be really interesting to hear from the different contexts around the room. So this is the first of our three parts of this dialogue. So really like in the now, it'd be great to hear from a few people. So who'd like to chime in on these three topics, like the, you know, what are you learning? What are the needs? And, you know, what are you actually, what is the role of us as professionals? So Richard, could I call on you, because you brought up the fears as the first fear? Could I just invite you to jump in and share your perspective?
Just on that issue of fear?
Well, any of the now and where we are.
Yeah, I think it's a very strange time for obvious reasons, but I think in the way people that I coach are thinking, I see some real re-energizing, if you like, with their original values in looking to the future, some real desire to change and see this as an opportunity for both personal change and change within their organizations, but at the same time, a real fear that the forces around us will in some way block or challenge that, either through going back to so-called old ways of thinking, or simply through economic need. So it's a sort of fear of the future with this sort of a real external powerful impactor of the potential recession, well, the recession we're in, but also I think a fear of missing the opportunity, a real fear of going back to how things were. I was talking to some people who are keen walkers and cyclists and naturists, and they were really concerned that the traffic has built up to the levels that it was in London again. And it's things like that that people, I think, noticed a pause, a chance to reset, rethink. And I think there is a palpable fear around of missing that opportunity. So one of my roles I've been finding with clients is to encourage them to explore and delve into that more thoroughly and come up with some suggestions as to how they can move forward.
So thank you for that, Richard. So someone else from a totally different context, could somebody jump in with their thoughts from where you reside? So we've got, who have we got? So Jafar, could I ask you to jump in?
Hi, I was just typing as you invited me in. I think for me, as a, I don't use the word professional because there is stuff around professional, what we mean by professional, but as a coach, as a mentor, as a supervisor, is to be able to hold the place, hold the environment, because where we are living through, it provides us for amazing opportunity for us to do our best coaching, our best mentoring, and best supervision, really. And for me, what that looks like is to be able to hold the place, an environment with our clients, with our peers, with our neighbors, with our communities. So I don't divide between self and professional, really. It's about everything. That we are able to really bravely and courageously examine where we are at, examine what we've learned, and reimagine a better future and work towards it. So it's not just about being enlightened, it's about doing something as a result of that. And I've seen, and I'm engaged with, I live in London, but not just in London, all over the place, really, communities that are doing that. So I feel very hopeful.
Thank you for sharing that. Someone else want to jump in from their own context, share what's going on in the now.
I'll share, Geeta, just from a practical point of view, where you're noticing some small business owners, maybe even just a guy who owns a dental practice or an accountancy, they're looking to see you more. There's uncertainty, so you find you're maybe seeing them maybe every 2 weeks rather than every month. And then you've got a couple of large companies, large engineering companies, where it's large, huge businesses, maybe 300 or 400 people, where you're working with directors, and the coaching has been stopped. So it has, from the point of view of like, we need to save money or whatever. So that's just the practical side of the point of view, where some are seeing this huge value. The small, that can make decisions themselves, but the larger type thing, it's a case of, right, well, we'll do a wee cutback here. So just from a practical point of view, you're noticing that.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this one, the now, from Elizabeth? Go for it.
I suppose a lot of the conversation, well, I don't know, some of what we're looking at is what's going on outwardly, but I think also as individuals, we're going to be having to contend, yes, we're sort of like earning an income, but it's also the people around us in our families, which will be having difficulty, being made redundant. And I think that's also us trying to keep ourselves grounded is going to be something important. And there's a balance, isn't there, that you're promoting, because you're absorbing it from the outside, but it's also how you then juggle your personal stuff and keeping yourself balanced.
So how about just a few other quick voices on this? So anyone we've not heard from? Julia,
Hi.
Sylvia, Isabel.
Hi. Hi. Yes, I guess going back when you're saying the now, and I think somebody else mentioned it, I think for the first time, we really had to live in the present. We talk so much about living in the present, but this actually it was not an opportunity. We're forced to live in the present. And I think the first speaker also said that we are not making the most of this opportunity, because initially there was like so much idea of change, and we're like by inertia going back to the normality, which is no longer the case. I think we will never go back to where we were. Yes. But how to interrupt that place, how to realize we've built a lot of resiliency, and how to make the most of it. This was a great opportunity to dismantle a lot of our beliefs and attitudes, and like remain that way, keep going at it, instead of falling back into the comfort zone. I guess that's it. I think that a lot of us are going back, or our clients are going back to the comfort zone, and we have to make sure we don't. We were given an opportunity, and we have to take advantage of it.
So anyone else want to comment on the now? So with what we're learning, just going back to this 3 questions, what we're learning, fears, and our role. So in terms of where we are now, anybody else like to comment before?
Yes.
Verity.
Okay.
Sylvia.
Can I? Yes.
Sylvia.
Okay, I hold two hats. I hold a hat of a mental health professional and a coach. And I think what I'm seeing as well is that there's much more now. The balance is really different, and there's much more towards the mental health. There's a lot of anxiety coming up, much less coaching per se. And there's also, I think, a fear of the things that everybody wants everything going back as it was, and at the same time, nobody wants the things as they were before. So there's a contradiction there, and I find, what do we really want? Just to erase all what happened and get this new normal is, can we adjust to this? We want this back to as it was, or we want something really different? And I think there's a lot of fears in that sphere as well.
Okay, thank you. Verity, did you want to comment?
Yeah, I was just typing away. I was going to say what I've noticed is this conscious, and the word I want to use is decompartmentalization. I think I've made that word up. But this kind of, in my clients and actually in myself, this reassessment of our work-life balance and consciously being forced into assessing that, and actually the fear that comes with that. And I think for a lot of the work that I have done pre-COVID, it's looking at values and beliefs in a really different way now, and not seeing what elements of your job might have aligned, but actually really getting that sense of your true purpose and your congruent self, and taking that forward in the now and what your future might look like. So there's this real, I don't know, breaking down those blurred boundaries that we had before.
So with that sense of, you know, the now, what really has struck me in what you all just shared is that whilst there is this kind of rethinking, there's also this hope that that rethinking is actually, you know, it could be moving us in a really good direction in terms of what we're learning, what's unfolding. But there are challenges as well around the fears and about the whole unknown of, you know, the full kind of unfolding of what's coming up. And I know in my own everyday life as a coach and a team coach, I'm finding that the conversations are quite different from what they used to be. So they're deeper conversations. So I think there is an interesting aspect of, are we being called to go much deeper in the work because of the nature of what is happening around us? Nicola, anything you want to chime in on before we move to part 2?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that there's been an overall theme, hasn't there, about people recognizing that obviously that it's changed, and there has been snippets of things really being a lot better. We spoke about work-life balance. We spoke about at the start of the call, Geetu and I were talking about back in the day, you're almost apologetic about yourself as a non-authentic being, and, you know, not having a family, not having a home. You know, there's a child come in, well, you know, should be almost apologetic. And I think as we're getting to know each other a little bit more, we are starting to see more authenticity, and I would welcome that continuing.
Yeah. So Jane's question in the chat about, you know, Jane, just I'm curious about your thought on that. So is that what you're thinking?
Yes, I think I'm probably thinking about the clients with whom I work, and also, you know, I'm usually working with younger adults in some sphere or another, and I sort of feel I have a responsibility to, it's not something I've consciously, I am responsible. It is sort of happened by default that I have a responsibility in my role of encouraging and supporting and challenging my clients, that it's sort of I have taken on an additional sort of role, which is always in the back of our minds. We want our clients to experience well-being, but it's become much more a conscious role that I think I've assumed by default.
Okay. So there's a lot of interesting things, you know, in chat as well, but I do want to invite you, if there was a metaphor for describing where we're at now, you know, in a single kind of word or a sort of mind picture, a mind image, what would your single word be for where we are right now, just to close this part of our dialogue? if you could write that in chat as a single word, couple of words, where are we at? And, you know, to pick up what I think, Jafar, you said earlier about, you know, the word professional, we didn't want to write mentor coach, team coach, supervisor, global council member, like every time we were referring to the group here. So that's the word, that's what that word is intended. If you have a better word, maybe all of us in all of our contexts. Spaghetti junction, flotilla, bridge, hall of mirrors, in a liminal space, well-grounded anchor. Wow, these are powerful crossroads, trusting, surfing the wave of disruption, leaps of faith, bridge, butterfly. Wow. And maybe the people who are connected on YouTube can also share their metaphors, and we will, you know, we will be sharing these back. And by the time of the summit, it will be a few months since, and we'll be able to reflect on connecting with people, wanting real change, letting it go, wild garden, wilderness.
I have a comment from Khaled as well on LinkedIn. Hi, Khaled. Fear is the best teacher.
Fear is the best teacher.
The teacher's being resilient.
Oh, epanouissement. Is that like an what does that mean? Epanouissement.
Oh, I love long words though.
Karen, just say a few quick words so we get the meaning.
Yeah, my husband uses the word quite a lot, épanouissement, which means to start opening like a flower, to start opening up. And as I was listening to the things that you were all saying before, and I echo what everybody else is saying, but I'm also seeing with my clients, they're actually taking this time to start pushing themselves out of their comfort zone and into their stretch zone, and start to open up and take stock and say, right, okay, so yeah, we have learned how to do things differently. Yes, it's been a challenge. How have I responded to the challenge? What have I learned from that? What can I use going forward? You know, what do I want from my life? So so yes, it was all very dark for a while, but I get a real sense that as coaches, we're on the verge of supporting our clients with this opening out, which might take them in all kinds of different directions.
Yeah, so that's fascinating, because it's like, you know, there's a lot that's changing and evolving, and there's I get this immediate sense of, you know, this is like, can be really positive, and we, you know, we in the roles that we play can really hold the space for that to occur. But there's also this, what I hear also in some of the earlier comments, that we're in this as much as our clients. It's like, it's so universal what's going on, that, you know, we're all in that ourselves and needing to make sense of it. So on this point, I want to actually make a transition to our next question. I think that's really got us like to some, you know, clarity on what this actually is for us in this moment. But I want to move on to the second topic, which is, what are our needs in this situation? And I love this little image of the, you know, there's chance and there's also change, and they're so close. So the first question is, what are the needs that we have of us? So whatever is the role that you play, you know, either as the stakeholders that are, you know, commissioning coaching in organizational and other contexts, or the teams themselves that are benefiting from team coaching, or individual clients, or EMCC Global as a whole. Just think about needs, and maybe with this one, when you write in chat, just put like who the needs are of at the beginning. So like stakeholders, you know, these are the needs. Like, what are the needs of all of the important stakeholders in this moment, faced with what we've just shared? So connection, sounding board, clarity. My supervision has been essential for my own sanity. Coaches connected to like-minded people who struggle to articulate their own needs. Nicola, do you mean do you mean anyone, or do you mean clients? Or
I think I mean clients. I think sometimes they've found themselves into especially some of the people I work with who are at you know, it's like a board level, where they're being put into a new, the new normal, a new sense of they need to do something different. They need to show leadership, and they need to show, or they feel they need to show people that they've got this, they've got everything, that, you know, they're okay, they know what they're doing, they're okay. And actually a lot of the time they're really struggling themselves. And I do think sometimes they do find it difficult to articulate what they actually need, because they're not really quite sure what they need. They know what's not going right for them, but they don't necessarily know what path they want to go down. And then by looking uncertain, it makes them feel that other people are looking at them and thinking, well, do they know what they're doing? And so that's what I mean by this. I think they struggle to articulate their own needs sometimes, because I don't think they necessarily know. Or they don't know what to ask or how to ask it.
So so Vlad has made a point about, you know, the needs are care and empathy, and others have referred to connection, to feel connected and alignment. And there are a number of supervisors in our dialogue today. So supervision, Karen, you've mentioned, has been really important to reflect not only on your own practice. I'm reading these out so that, you know, on YouTube, the people who joined us on YouTube also have the benefit. I've been in how you've been impacted during this time and how I can keep showing up for my clients with my best self. Barbara, having space to grieve what was lost. Yeah, so it's interesting because there's lots of different needs that are expressed there. And there's a follow-up question I have for you. We started to explore this in the previous part, but what role do you think we can play, and what role do we want to play in this current sort of shifting time that's going on? Like, some of you have, you know, mentioned some things about being a sounding board, but let's look at that, you know, even more. Like, what role do we want to play? Are we, you know, so stability. And after everyone's written something in chat, we'll pause again and move to gallery view so we can have a conversation about this. So what role can we play? Support, the challenger, perspective, doing it ourselves, role modeling it. Yeah, role modeling has come up a few times already. To challenge, support people moving forward, move them from feeling helpless and victim of circumstances to taking positive actions, to normalize, safe place for people to think and be heard. The challenge and support role, the inspiration, conductor, role modeling, so important, enabling clients to explore their potential, to respond rather than react, walk the talk, holding a trusted space to allow exploration, help them focus on what they can control, keep searching for possibilities for ourselves and our clients, make new relationships with kindred spirits who will listen and challenge. And hopefully that's part of what we're doing today as well, you know, connecting together in this, you know, global context. So let's pause there and hear from some people that we haven't heard from yet. So could I call on Raja to comment on what you're seeing as needs and, you know, connect from your context? Over to you.
Okay. according to what's happening since, let's say, March, for me, I find it that this is a time for people just to pause and reflect on what's going on from their previous life, and they get the wisdom and lessons learned, and to be ready to move forward, because equipped with all the let's say the tools, all the knowledge that it can let them move forward in life. Because after this life will be different, the new normal life, and we need, what I'm doing since like 1 month back or 2 months back, my role as a coach, I contact all my clients or specific clients, which is leaders, and I just approach them to be there to support them and to let them really get a benefit from this time in a way to reflect on what's going on and to understand the situation and to get the wisdom from what's going on, and how much really work with them to be ready and prepared to move forward in their life after everything will be, there is more clarity about it. And not to be very panic or fear about it. No, always they are seeing the good side from what's happening.
Mm. So that's interesting in terms of, like, providing that space. And I want to hear from Vlad. Vlad, you're smiling, and I want to bring you into the conversation. Can you share from your context, what are you seeing here as the needs and the specific role?
The best introduction for most people. You are unmuted. I felt that walking the talk, it's something that it's important during this time, and the way we can make the alignment in three. I have an image of three: the coach, the client, and the supervisor. It's much more about support than anything else during these times. Support. And I had many opportunities to talk with different managers about one thing that we somehow lose from the sight. It's an important distress moment for each of us. And if we don't acknowledge this, and if we don't understand this, then anything that we'd like to accomplish, it's not easy to be done.
Mm. So this notion, I want to also hear from Julia. Julia, any thoughts on this? So the questions were about what are the needs of the stakeholders and what role can we play, do we want to play? Over to you.
I think since this whole situation arose since March, I think we've all found ourselves in the same situation, which is strange in itself, because this is a global pandemic. It's happened to every single person in the whole wide world. It's impacted everybody. And for the first time, we've all plateaued at the same place. And it's a question of, we all need to reset. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there is a fear that there is something wrong with it. Okay, so I think my role is, I feel that, partly my role is when I am talking to people, is that there is no fear in it, because we are in a situation that we didn't make, not of our own making. But we have to look deep within ourselves to understand our own values and not be ashamed of them, and see how we can then start to apply and improve the situation around us. Now, it's a fluid situation. The only stability in it is us, is you, yourself, me, myself, because I'm in the same situation as them. The only thing is, and we don't know what will happen, we don't know which way it will go, but we do know that it's not going to be what it was before. And that in itself is usually a little bit scary. But I feel that my role at this moment in time is to try and not, I try to eliminate the fear, even though I have a little bit of it myself.
Okay. Sharing that. And Anna, can we hear from you in terms of your perspective on this? You're in...
Yeah, so thank you for inviting me to also make some comments. So everything that has been said resonates a lot with me. And Julia, as mentioned just a few minutes ago, that this is a global pandemic. We all are experiencing the same. And simultaneously, I think all of us have specific and differences in the way we are experiencing and living this. So as a coach, I see that this also starts with me. So it resonates a lot how important it is to be conscious, to really know what is my role, what is that I can add in my family, in my profession. So this consciousness, I think, is really important. And simultaneously, I also felt that this comment about the only stability is us. So yeah, being mindful of what is that we can add to others and connect. By connecting, we are also connecting with what is different, what can give us different perspectives. So this is really a moment to, and I guess I'm repeating myself again, but this is a moment to really be conscious, make meaning of what is going on, and deal with the fear and also with the hope that this situation represents.
Anna, thank you for sharing that. It's a great link to the beginning of the next part. So this is the third and final part, and I thought that it would be quite interesting to think about, you know, well, we've looked at where we are now, we've looked at the kind of needs and the role, and the final thing that would be great to have everybody's input on is, what are our aspirations? So how does our utopia appear for us as a body of coaching? And as I said, you know, coaching meaning coaching, mentoring and supervision. What is, you know, if we emerge from this, you know, as a number of you have touched on, you know, more conscious, better, stronger, more resilient, what does that actually, you know, look like and feel like? In other words, you know, what are we aspiring to be as a force for change if we are really at the heart of this shift that's occurring, and how we can hold the space, as we talked earlier? What are we aspiring to be? And again, you know, I want to invite you to think about this as a metaphor. What is the aspiration that you would want to carry forward? So it's fine to write it in words as well if you have, like, you know, a specific thought around this, but I'm just curious about what you connect with in terms of what you're aspiring for in this time with everything that is going on. So this is not just, you know, what does good look like? This is what is like our utopia as a coaching body, given that we are in an important role to actually potentially influence our practice, do things differently going forwards. So we'll just give everyone a chance to write something. So orchestra, all playing the same song, but each doing it in their own way. Genuine connections, open-hearted spaces, to keep a real change about the thinking of the future, authenticity, resilience, helping people reset and reimagine connection, a more compassionate, caring and equal society that recognizes the need to respect the resources of our planet before it's too late, enable change, an enabler of positive change, solidarity, consciousness of fragility, gratitude for what we do have. My utopia is setting myself to fail, or rather not succeed every day, and finding new depths of capacity, wisdom and share. Yes, Lily, absolutely. I'm in with that one, absolutely. Moving away from dystopia or moving towards utopia. That's a really interesting, moving away from dystopia, yeah. Wow, there's a lot of dystopia right now. A map with lots of interesting features, a challenging but attainable goal, and a group together, actively engaged in reaching the goal. Be the role model. This word role models come up a lot in our dialogue. Acceptance, ability, be calm in the storm, try new things, that we're recognized by all leaders and individuals as being effective agents of positive change, a move away from individualism to more one of greater inclusivity, to really change and act meaningfully. You're not stuck in traffic, you are the traffic. It's a lovely one. You're not stuck in traffic, you are the traffic. So let's stop sharing so we can hear from a number of people. So if you haven't yet communicated a view, this is an opportunity to chime in. Manon, we'd love to hear your view on this.
Well, I typed in solidarity, which is related to more compassion, being aware more about the people around you, who needs more care, not focusing only on your own wealth, let's say it that way, but creating this inclusivity, as somebody mentioned. I think that focus is something for me already important before, but now I think it's even more important, because I think we're going to have a lot of challenges on social, economic level. So we have to make a shift in our mindset there too.
Okay, and Sarah, thoughts from you on this?
Yeah, I think for our profession, it's around hopefully revealing our power for effective change for individuals and therefore their organisations, and sort of being understood and recognised as sort of trusted partners in that change. Really, I think people are probably recognising more and more, or they're identifying a need in themselves for coaching and similar things to coaching, but it's whether they reach out to the profession to fulfil that need, and that might be down to us to demonstrate. So
someone said to me recently, in all coaching training we learn the distinction between coaching and therapy, and always distinguish, like, in this shifting time, what is a therapeutic intervention versus what is the coaching intervention. And that's just been sticking in the back of my mind, for the last few weeks, like how much of what we're dealing with is actually such deeper work that we've learned in all of our practice that there's a boundary between coaching and therapy. And I think that's an interesting question for the time now. Any other thoughts? So this hour has gone so fast. So I just want to invite you to just chime in. So Shawnee, any thoughts from you?
I suppose there's an element of helping people reach out to coaching and see the value of coaching. It's this thing, it's there, and when you're a coach and you've been there and done that, and you just know the value of the people you work with, it's just helping people take that step, because there still can be a hesitancy. So there is. So maybe what we could do more there to show the benefits, like.
Yeah. So So as you were saying that, and I know Amelia stepped away, she wrote in the chat, sometimes conversational space to reflect is therapy. I think that's also well said. Anyone else before we bring things to a close? Barbara, any thoughts from you?
Hello. I was just reflecting that actually what the pandemic has been doing for us is opening our hearts open. And I certainly consider this equalizing element to what's occurring. We are all in it together. So there is a really deep sense of humility and authenticity, vulnerability, and perhaps we are closer to our clients than we've ever been because we are experiencing some of the most of the challenges that people are experiencing as well. And I just hope in terms of what's coming that this open-hearted space will remain, and we will all be able to speak more honestly and authentically about who we are, and through being ourselves, be a real vessels of change.
What I just have loved about the dialogue, and you know, we're going to start to, we wanted to keep this like to an hour. We were tempted to make it a lot longer than an hour, but we wanted it to be accessible, you know, to, you know, people from a variety of contexts. So the three dialogues together are intended, you know, to be like, today was about the now, what's going on now, and what are our sort of like initial thoughts on our aspirations. The next one is about the challenges that we need to problem solve, so the barriers and the tensions. That's the next one on the 6th of August at 11 UK time. And then session 3 in September will be all about how do we actually resolve these. Now, because, you know, we absolutely are taking the view that this is a permanent shift. We're actually wanting to actually have these dialogues spaced apart so we have time to go away, reflect on what was said, so that we can come back to the next one with, you know, then moving to the next part of the conversation. And I'm going to turn it back to Nicola. So you have my details on screen. I'm really up for staying connected with anybody that wants to connect on these topics, and I have an EMCC volunteer role as well as, you know, a team coaching and coaching practice. I'm very happy to see all of you. And Nicola, let me turn it to you for the next steps.
Oh, thank you very much, Geetu. That was I think it was a powerful conversation. Thank you so much for leading that. I'm going to hang on a sec. Press record. This has been just, I don't know, just so, as we always find, these have been just so soul searching and really open and honest and authentic conversations. Thank you everybody for taking part in this. I've put a link in the chat as well. It's to a feedback form. If you want to keep in touch with Geetu, then write it on the feedback form as well, and she can keep in touch with you. But there's also a link in there to where you can sign up for the next 2 of these as well. And to make it a bit easier, if you just wanted to, if you've got no time, then just write your name in the chat, say I want to come, and I'll just add you manually to the Eventbrite link. But I think that we've explored lots of things today about what our current needs are, and also about how we've got to where we are, and also I think we've started to really look at what the future looks like as well, and that's exciting. I think so. We've got a very important part to play, I think, and being able to identify where we are in the world that we're working in is extremely important before we can expand that thinking to see where we go next. Geetu, thank you so much for this. Not only have you led a really insightful session, thank you, but also you have had a world first with live streaming to YouTube as well. So thank you very much as well. I just want to thank you everybody on behalf of the EMCC Global. Thank you so much for coming, for taking part. I've got a note of names that has been left in the chat as well, and I will manually add you too. Thank you so much.
Nicola, final thing, just for a bit of fun. These are all the people that said that they wanted to like join the dialogue, and next time when we join together, we're going to use this like to, we were going to use it today, but if this lands on someone that's still in the call, then this is who we're going to hear from first next time. Just so
I love this.
So if
Sylvia
signed up for the next one, then it will be Sylvia first, followed by Agit.
Yeah.
By
write these names down.
The Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
I love the wheel.
Yeah.
Xenia.
Well, there we go. So we're going to put that in the follow-up, and we'll follow up with everybody. I want to just say a very final word. You know, I absolutely believe that no single person has the full answer, but I do believe that the answers come through dialogue. And what I've been really touched by is the spirit today of people just like volunteering their full kind of view from their perspective. And I think it's really to be honored that, you know, there are multiple perspectives represented in this call. And I know that, you know, as a mum of a 3-year-old, my everyday life is just like a constant challenge with, you know, work and home and noise factor in a home office, and, you know, change the world through coaching and team coaching, and, you know, all of it, as others said, has to be in balance. So I love the theme of like, we have to start with ourselves and go from there. But I'm grateful for the dialogue. And Nicola, big shout out to you. Without you, none of this would come together.
Thank you.
Like extraordinary in your vision of like how we could do things, and, you know, being in the experiment. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
So we're gonna stop the recording. We're gonna stay on just for a few minutes for anybody that wants to chat for a few minutes.